Hello and welcome to another episode of the Autos and Airways podcast. I am your host, Alex Shum. Today is my second solo episode, so it's just me today, and we're going to be talking about some of the latest automotive news over the past couple weeks and some really cool stuff that have happened this week. So stuff to talk about. Ford Mach-E has some updates to the battery, the powertrain. The new Lexus LX600. So this is the version of the Land Cruiser, the new 300 series Land Cruiser that we're going to be getting here in the U.S. I have some thoughts on that. The Land Rover Discovery, which has been on sale for 4 years, is now in its 7th model year, and it has some updates there as well. Also, the new Acura Integra is coming back, and there's some really cool stuff that has been announced with the new Integra. And also today on recording this on the 19th, the all-new Honda Civic Si was also revealed today, and that's a really cool little car. So with that, let's start off with the cars and bids segment. Now, I chose a really cool car today. I chose a 2012 Aston Martin Virage. And this is a very interesting car. Aston Martin thought that there would be a market for a car that was positioned in between the DB9 and the DBS. So at the time when this came out, the DB9 had 470 horsepower. DBS had 510 horsepower. The Virage, right smack dab in the middle at 490 horsepower. So basically with the Virage, they took some of the performance technology they developed for the DBS and brought it into the DB9 platform, even though the DBS and the DB9 are basically the same car. So with kind of the comfort levels of the DB9 with the little bit of the performance aspect of the DBS. And it was on sale for 18 months, and they produced 1,001 cars, and it was a massive failure. So no one wanted it, and it's a cool little car. I mean, really, you need to be a diehard Aston Martin fan to really know the difference between a DB9 and the Virage. But anyway, so the one that I chose is this. So like I said, it's 2012 Aston Martin Virage. It is finished in a paint to sample color. It is called Arctica, which is actually a Rolls-Royce color, believe it or not. And it has the Aurora blue and cream truffle interior, which is to die for. It also has the Camo ash wood veneer, wood trim, which is honestly to die for. I'm a sucker for a light interior. I mean, look at that. How awesome does that look? I mean, and I don't like blue interior at all. I hate blue leather, but this is perfect. It's just blue on, on the instrument binnacle up here, just at the very top of the dash. That obviously has the blue piping and stitching and the seatbelts and this leather back up here. It is just the right amount of blue, and it really, really looks awesome. I mean, it is such a lovely, lovely spec. I'm also not a big fan of white, but this is a very nice white. It also has the embroidered Aston Martin wings, which is really cool on the headrests of the seats. But yeah, it is a very, very beautiful car. The outside's also it's really nice. Has these 20-inch wheels. They're cool looking wheels. Obviously, all the US spec cars have this horrible license plate holder with these plastic bars that come out for crash safety regulation. So thank you, US government, for that bullshit. But yeah, it is a very, very, very nice looking car. Sold for how much? It sold for $71,500, which is that's pretty cheap for one of these, especially with only 9,100 miles, and the original price was $223,000. But yeah, so some options that this car has. Kind of going back to some stuff that we talked about in previous episodes, this does have a 6-disc CD changer, which is pretty funny. I guess at this time, I mean, this car, is basically 10 years old now. See you, JJ. My coworker fucking interrupted me. So some options that this car has. It has a 6-disc CD changer, which actually was standard, but it's kind of funny. You know, we talked about it in other podcasts that, you know, in this also, like, you know, this car is basically 10 years old. Yeah, they weren't that uncommon back then, but a 6-disc CD changer is just still kind of funny in a car like this, especially when it does have Bluetooth. It has a 700 watt Aston Martin premium audio system. I actually have driven a V8 Vantage with this 700 watt sound system, and I was shocked. It was actually really good. It had like surround and all that. It was actually a really, really decent system. Mids and highs are pretty good. Had a surprising amount of bass, way more than I was ever expecting from that. Of course, if it was me buying an Aston Martin, I would still get the Bang & Olufsen sound system, even though it's a pretty expensive option. Even though you don't really need it with the exhaust, I'm an audiophile, and give me the Bang & Olufsen sound system any day. It also has an umbrella holder in the trunk. It has like titanium silver mesh on like on the hood here, and also like down there along the sides. Yeah, they all came with carbon ceramic brakes. This one is the automatic, or as Aston Martin call it, the Touchtronic 2, which is actually just a ZF 6-speed automatic, which is a much better transmission than the single clutch transmissions that Aston used in the Vantage. Those are really bad, but the ZF 6-speed was a pretty good transmission, especially for its time. But yeah, it's a gorgeous car. I mean, it's, you know, like I said, it's you know, Aston Martin says it's a 6-liter V12. It's not. It's actually a 5.9-liter V12. Like I said, it makes 490 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. For my metric system friends, I believe that's like 560, 570 Newton meters, around there. But yeah, it is a performer. It wasn't that bad. 0 to 60 was in like the low to mid 4-second range. But then again, this isn't a full-on sports car. This is a luxury sports GT, and a beautiful one, certainly. So yeah. So let's move on from there. The next thing I want to discuss is the 2022 Ford Mach-E. They did some updates to the powertrain. The battery capacity has since been the battery capacity has been increased. So the standard range cars went from a 68 kilowatt hour battery to a 70 kilowatt hour battery. Actually, these batteries they're the same batteries. They're just allowing customers to use more of a capacity. Ford announced previously that the battery capacity in the Mach-E was limited to prevent battery degradation over time, but apparently people don't really care about that right now, so they're just going to give you more usable capacity. So like I said, the standard range goes from 68 kilowatt hours to 70, and the extended range goes from 88 kilowatt hours to 91 kilowatt hours. Now, that should yield an increase in range. Now, unfortunately, the US EPA is refusing to retest the range for the 22 model year cars. So all the EPA numbers are going to remain the same as the 2021 model year. So for that, the standard range all-wheel drive Mach-E will do 211 miles on a charge. The standard range rear-wheel drive will do 230 miles. Now, the California Route 1 trim level Mach-E with rear-wheel drive will do 305 miles. They are now offering a California Route 1 all-wheel drive. They have not announced range for that yet, and I don't know if they will for 22 because it is a new model, but we'll see. Then the extended range rear-wheel drive is 300 miles. The extended range all-wheel drive is 270 miles, and the Mach-E GT is also 270 miles, and that's all-wheel drive as well. They also did do some changes in the price. For the most part, they're the same. The base model Mach-E, the reserve trim as it's called here in the US, that has not changed at all. So that that has not changed. That's like 40, oh, I can't remember. It was like $43,000, $42,000 for that. Now the Mach-E Premium goes up $500 to $49,200. The California Route 1 has a price increase of $375 to make it, that brings it up to $51,875. The Mach-E GT actually gets a price cut. It's down $1,005, and that brings it to $59,000 or $59,995. Now, if you want to add all-wheel drive to any of those trim levels, it is $2,700 apart from the GT where it is standard. And the Mach-E was a car that I actually was so impressed with. It handled incredibly well. It felt every bit a performance car, for lack of a better term. It wasn't a sports car, but it was definitely, in terms of how it was set up, was definitely set up more toward performance than comfort. It handled incredibly well. The one I drove was the extended range all-wheel drive, so that was 346 horsepower, and it was 0 to 60 in like the mid to high 4-second range, and it felt every bit geared toward more performance instead of comfort and efficiency. And the quality of the interior was very, very good. I'm still not a fan of the design of it. I hate the giant 15-inch tacked on screen. Luckily, it does have a gauge cluster, but yeah, and the exterior design it's grown on me. I still don't think it's a particularly good looking car. It does look a lot better in person. Surprisingly enough, it was designed by a guy by the name of Jason Castriota, who also designed the Ferrari 599 and the Maserati Gran Turismo. So the guy that designed the Mach-E also designed two of some of the most beautiful cars, in my opinion, ever made. So that's interesting. But yeah, the Mach-E, it was a car that I was very surprised with, and yeah, I honestly fell in love with it. And I personally, I've said in the past, that is one of the few cars I would actually go out and buy with my own money. I'd actually probably lease one instead of buy one, but for me, that's really, really high praise. So let's move on to the all-new Lexus LX600. So obviously it's the Lexus LX, which is the Lexus version of the Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota decided to be really fucking stupid and not sell the 300 series Land Cruiser here in the US because it never sold that much. It was never a strong seller for Toyota, and of course it wasn't. It was very expensive. I mean, not many people would want to buy a Toyota Land Cruiser at $85,000 when they could spend a little bit more and get a Range Rover. Arguably, the Range Rover, first of all, it's a nicer vehicle. It's better off-road. It has the brand prestige, the Range Rover name, the Land Rover name, whereas the Toyota, it's still a Toyota. And however, like I said, the sales for the Land Cruiser weren't that much, but they were very consistent. They sold, basically for the past 10 years, Toyota sold around 300 Land Cruisers a month in the US, which isn't a lot, especially when they're selling, thousands and thousands of RAV4s and Highlanders. But, every year the Land Cruiser sold about 3,000 to 4,000 a year in the US. And the reason a lot of people bought Land Cruisers is because, people wanted a luxury car, but they didn't want the luxury badge. The people that bought Land Cruisers, they were business owners, they were CEOs, they were executives, but they also were like, well, I don't want to go up to my company and, be seen in a Range Rover. I'd rather be seen in a Toyota, and it makes, it has this, it's kind of more like an everyman car. And I totally get that. And the Land Cruiser was an amazing car. It still is an amazing car. That is another car that I would personally write a check for. and that's not one I'd lease. I would have bought a Land Cruiser, and that's what most people did. They buy them and they keep them for 15, 20 years. They are some of the longest lasting cars ever. The average Land Cruiser owner keeps their car between like 12 and 15 years. And it's there's this cult following for the Land Cruiser. And the fact that they aren't selling the new one here because they sell more Lexus LXs, Toyota thought, oh, we'll, people bought a Land Cruiser. If they want one, they can buy an LX. It's a little bit more money, but it's the same car and it has the Lexus badge. And yeah, that's kind of the whole reason why. And I think it was really stupid, but the new LX600 is, I mean, obviously we deserve it here in the US. They do sell decently well. Yeah, so I'll actually pull this up. It is absolutely hideous. I mean, it is so bad. I mean, it doesn't look that different from the old one, but I'm sorry. That grill, Alexa, play Grillz by Nelly. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. It's appalling. It looks like a fucking vacuum cleaner. Yeah. However, the other thing, I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like how it says Lexus spelled out on the back. I prefer, the Lexus logo. But that's what Lexus is doing. It's like, yeah, I think everyone that knows something about cars knows what the Lexus logo is. They don't need to, you don't need to spell it out. But yeah, it's interesting. So this one is powered by the all new 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, makes 409 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. That's right around 650 Newton meters. It's made into a 10-speed automatic transmission, and the body structure is 440 pounds lighter. It's around 200 kilograms lighter than the old one. And the old one's a heavy vehicle. This new one is still a very heavy vehicle, but it obviously needed to lose some weight. But yeah, there is a new F Sport trim, and that gets different suspension tuning. It also gets a torsion rear differential, and it has like some blacked out grill, the special 22-inch wheels. There's this all new ultra luxury trim level, which I think is down here. They had a picture of it. They don't. Where is it? It basically, so like the ultra luxury, it's a 4-seat model. It has a reclining second row the seats can recline 48 degrees, and it's like the chauffeur driven. You get chauffeured around in that. Like if you're going to be chauffeured around, get an S class. Don't get an LX. Get an S class. Get a 7 Series. Get an Audi A8. Get one of those big sedans. They cost basically the same as this thing, and yeah. But yeah, it is interesting, this new 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. I wonder how it will do in terms of reliability over long term, because the old one had a 5.7 liter V8, and those things were bulletproof. I mean, it's not uncommon to see those things with 200, 300, 400,000 miles with just basic oil changes. They are incredibly reliable, and I'm not sure how the twin turbo V6 will hold up, but only time will tell. So like I said, this is the F Sport. It has these blacked out 22s. The grill is blacked out, and they black out like the bumper around it. It's just, yeah, not very good. It's yeah, and like I said, it has a torsion rear diff, which is nice. But yeah, so some other stuff that's really nice. It does have, as you can see here, it has a 12.3-inch touchscreen, and it also has a 7-inch touchscreen here that controls HVAC and stuff like that, which is really stupid. I mean, no one wants HVAC controls to be in a screen. Everyone wants knobs, buttons, and switches. That's what people want. You know, Honda learned a lesson. They got rid of the volume knob for this god awful like slidey thing, and people got so upset they put the volume knob back in. Audi went away with the physical climate controls, and they're now bringing it back on a lot of models because it just doesn't work as well. Physical controls for basic functions need to stay in cars. It doesn't matter how digitalized the cars get. The new Mach-E has digital climate, and so is like the new Ford Expedition now gets that same screen, and it's all through the screen, and it doesn't matter if it's permanently up there or not. It's just not right. You need to have physical climate controls for basic functions. It's safer, it's less distracting. You don't have to you don't have to tap around on a screen to figure out. You can just drive along, and you can just turn up the air or turn on your heated seat. And, you don't need to pay any attention to it. But yes, also it has a 25 speaker Mark Levinson sound system. The Mark Levinson systems in the Lexus are really, really good. Lexus, what is the plural of Lexus? Is it Lexus, Lexuses, or Lexus, with an apostrophe at the end, or is it Lexi? Lexi, is that like I don't know. Anyway, that's a little off topic. But yeah, another mechanical thing that I forgot to mention, it still has that really weird hydraulic suspension that can adjust its height. And it's not air suspension. It's all done hydraulically. And that was like the main benefit of the LX over the Land Cruiser. It has this hydraulic suspension. It's a lot more comfortable, and you get the adjustable ride height as well. Pricing has not been announced. I would imagine it's going to stay very close to what it was before at around $90,000. I'm sure like the ultra luxury trim is going to be well over 100, and even with options, these will be over 100. But it is nice that we do get a version of the 300 series here in the US, even though it is the Lexus one, and people are still upset that the Toyota version is not here, but at least we still get it. So that is nice. So kind of sticking with SUVs here, or off-road SUVs. The next car I want to talk about is the all-new well, it's not all new, it's just some changes for a model year. 2023 Land Rover Discovery. Now, this is a car that's very special to me. I do own a Land Rover Discovery. We've owned one for the past 4 years. It's 2017 Aintree Green Metallic over Vintage Tan Discovery HSE Luxury. So it's a top trim level. It doesn't have every option on it, but it's very, very well spec'd. And like I said, we've had it for 4 years, 33,000 miles. That car has not had a single issue. It's got the 3-liter supercharged AJ126 V6, the same one that's used in every JLR product, or was. They have since dropped the V6 in favor of their new Ingenium inline-6 engines. But that car, it's amazing. Give it 7 adults in it. The third row is not just for children. You can fit full-size adults in the third row. I think it rides really well. It is on the stiffer side, which I prefer. Not everyone prefers that, but I think it rides really well. It's a wonderful family car. It is so versatile. There's USB charging ports everywhere. There's hidden storage spaces everywhere. It's just a really, really practical, versatile family SUV, and it's not slow. I mean, it's 0 to 60 in like the low 6 seconds, which is, that's hot hatchback territory, 2-3 years ago. So it's not a slow car, and it doesn't handle like a truck. It certainly handles like an SUV. There is body roll, but not a ton, and it's not that flat around corners. But for what it is, it's actually really good. So for 2023, they kind of shuffled around the model some changes with the trim levels. Base price went up significantly. Base price went from like 53 last year to now over 56. They did add some stuff. The main thing, in my opinion, the biggest thing that they added, so they dropped when they did the facelift for the Discovery for 21 model year, they dropped the vintage tan interior. It fucking sucked here in the US. Now in Europe, they offered an interior called Caraway, which is very similar to vintage tan. It's a little bit less orange, but the Caraway interior is the equivalent of vintage tan, and now they brought it to the US for 23 model year. But yeah, it's a very nice interior color. So I'll kind of show you, for those that are going to be watching this, the Discovery. It does look the same. Oh, it does look the same. And the big thing for 23 is the new Metropolitan Edition. So what is the Metropolitan Edition? Basically gives you Hakuba silver lower bumpers, silver grille, these 22s with, you know, these two-tone 22s, and that's about it. The Metropolitan Edition here in the US comes with the 3-liter Ingenium 6-cylinder, or as Land Rover calls it, the P360. So that's 355 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. That's like around like 490 Newton meters, I think, or around 500 Newton meters. I'm not sure. I'm trying to do this all in my head, but yeah, it's 369 pound-feet of torque. This one also does 0-60 in like below 6 seconds. It's a good engine. I almost got my Defender with the 400 horsepower version of this engine, but I didn't like the way it felt in that car. I've not driven a Discovery with this engine. I would imagine it's pretty similar, just kind of dead under about 1500 RPM. But regardless, it is still a good engine. But yeah, it's just all right. The Metropolitan Edition, it's based on the R dynamic. And so like the stuff that you get the Hakuba silver on the lower bumpers. You do get gloss black brake calipers that have the Land Rover logo on it. Yeah, it's just like a design package, and it's all right. It's, you know, I wouldn't get it. I would just get if I bought a Discovery, I'd get the R Dynamic HSE and just put some options on it. It's like, this is like the Caraway interior. Not quite the same as vintage tan, which, you know, I'll pull up. This is vintage tan, so this is exactly what mine looks like. Oh. Patience. Yes. So that is the interior I have. In fact, mine is the exact same as this, apart from this has the satin charcoal oak trim, whereas mine has the gloss charcoal trim. So it's the same wood, but mine's just finished in a gloss lacquer. But yes, so there is a little bit of a difference, as you can see here. And this, of course, is all CGI. I've seen a Caraway interior in person in a Jaguar, and it was not too different from this. This is definitely more orange, like I said, but yeah, it's still, in my opinion, one of the best 7-seat SUVs you can get. Like I said, it's one of only, in fact, of all the ones that I have been in, it has the biggest third row with the most amount of room. It can tow more than anything it competes with. It can tow 8,200 pounds. That's like 3,700 kilograms, I think. And it's not the best looking. The back of it still does look a little bit strange with that off-center license plate, but it is a wonderful, wonderful family SUV. I wasn't that keen on it when it came out until we bought one, and I fell in love with it. It is a wonderful car. So with that, let's end it here on the Discovery and go on to the, before we kind of wrap things up, the all-new Acura Integra is coming back. So 2022 Acura is bringing back the Integra. It is going to replace the ILX as their entry-level sedan. Actually, the Integra is going to be a hatchback, a 5-door hatchback. We don't know a whole lot about it yet, other than the fact that it's going to have a 6-speed manual transmission on offer. Thank you, Acura. That is awesome. The engine, they did do a little teaser video. The engine sounds like it's the 2-liter turbo that's in the Civic Type R, or it could be the 1.5 turbo in the normal Civic. So it is going to be based on a Civic. So that's going to be interesting. There's going to be a Type S, Integra Type S on the way. That will be awesome. They're going to do a performance version. That will probably be based on the Civic Type R. Maybe they might play around with the all-wheel drive system. I have heard rumors about like an electronic all-wheel drive system, so front-wheel drive with an electric motor at the rear axle. That could be really interesting. Of course, Acura is known for their super handling all-wheel drive, which is just all-wheel drive with a torque vectoring rear diff, so it can send 100% of the torque to either one of the rear wheels. And Acura has pioneered that torque vectoring all-wheel drive. They were one of, if not the first to offer it in the auto industry, and they've been refining it ever since. So again, for those that are watching, I will show you guys the new Integra, or what we know about it. So we don't know a whole lot about it yet, other than this. And they also did a picture of the front, and I will show you this video as well with the 6-speed. That's awesome. That is awesome. Acura is making a comeback. The first car they did, that in like their first new car a couple years ago, is the 3rd generation RDX, and it was amazing. And then they redid the TLX about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and they did such a good job with that. And then the MDX SUV they redid, still not as competitive as the other two. I mean, everything Acura made 4 or 5 years ago is not competitive at all, and now everything is really competitive. The MDX is still lacking a little bit, in my opinion, but it's a hell of a lot better than it ever has been. And this is going to be awesome. This is going to, go up against the A3, the CLA, or just the A-Class sedan, that god awful BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is, I've driven one of those, one of the worst cars I've ever driven. That thing was an understeering mess, despite it being all-wheel drive. Of course, it was just a Honda all-wheel drive, but that thing should not have a BMW badge on it. Also, not to mention, it's fucking hideous. Anyway, those are the cars that this car is going to compete with, and this is the only one that offers a 6-speed. So it's going to be awesome. My guess, if it's based on the Civic, the automatic choice will probably be a CVT, which, if that's the case, that's to be really unfortunate. But I know if I were to buy one of these, I'd get the 6-speed. And I actually have a coworker that's seriously considering one of these when it comes out. So it's going to be really, really cool. So with that, let's move on. Kind of speaking of Civics here, the all-new Honda Civic Si has been revealed today. This is the performance version of the Civic sedan. Now, the Type R sits at the top of the hierarchy of performance Civics, and then you have the Si at the middle, and then you have the normal Civic down at the bottom. So the 2022 Honda Civic Si was revealed today. It's only available as a sedan. The coupe, the Civic Coupe, has been discontinued, and along that goes with the Si Coupe. You can only get one transmission, a 6-speed manual. It does have auto rev matching, but if you put it in the sport mode, it turns off automatically, or you can turn it off yourself if you don't like that. And it's got different drive modes, and when It's not super advanced when it comes to drive modes. All it does is sharpen the throttle response. The steering gets heavier in sport mode, and it changes the gauge cluster. The previous generation Civic Si did have adaptive dampers, but for this new one, this is the 11th generation, they ditched the adaptive dampers because customers didn't really care about it, and a lot of customers didn't like it, so they just decided to ditch it, which I think was a pretty dumb idea. But yeah, it is, like I said, 6-speed. Honda makes some of the best manual transmissions in the industry, in my opinion. Clutch, a lot of them are a little bit light for me, but the shifter is phenomenal. You never have to guess what gear you're going into. It's got short throws, and they're really slick. It just slides right into gear, and they make really good transmissions. The engine is a 1.5-liter turbo. It's the same engine that was in the old one. It's actually down a little bit. It's down 5 horsepower. So it's 200 horsepower in this new one, and 192 pound-feet of torque. That torque does come in 300 RPM sooner than the last one. So this one comes in at 1,800 RPM, and it stays flat all the way up to 5,000 RPM. Does have a limited slip front differential to help put that power down. So I'll actually, again, for those that are watching, I will share my screen. Thank you, Zoom. This thing can go away so I can get the tab up here. So this, oh, for Christ's sake, ads. This is the new Civic Si. It's not particularly exciting looking. It's subtle. I like subtle. But yeah, the inside is interesting. It's got these interesting seats. These red and black cloth seats. But yeah, and the thing is with the Si, it's cheap. The old Si was $26,000, and the only option you could choose, do you want what paint color do you want, and do you want summer tires or all season tires? Those are the only options you could get on the old Civic Si, and that stays true to this one. So your only options: what color paint do you want, and do you want summer tires or all season tires? And since this is based on the new Civic, it does have a lot of tech in it. It has a 9-inch touchscreen, again, with the good old volume knob right here. It's a hell of a lot better than anything Honda has done in the past. It also has a 12-speaker Bose audio system. Like I said in my last podcast, or last solo podcast, this is the first time Honda has outsourced for a premium audio system. They always did it in-house, and they weren't that great. But now they have this 12-speaker Bose sound system that comes in the Si and also on the higher end Civics. It has all the safety features, so forward collision warning, lane keep assist, automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control. All of that, it comes standard on the Si. And also they did a really good job kind of with the engineering of this car. So like I said, it has 8% more torsional rigidity than the standard Civic sedan. Like I said, it does have fixed dampers instead of adaptive dampers, but the spring rates are up 8% in the front and a massive 54% in the rear. It does have larger brakes than the normal Civic as well. It has the front rotors are 1.2 inches larger, and the rear rotors are 9/10 of an inch larger. But yeah, it is a very it's a solid little car. I mean, I can't really think, assuming this is probably going to be more expensive than the outgoing one, but not much. My guess is going to be around $27,000. And for 27 grand, all you get to, like I said, you choose your paint and you get to choose your tires. And I think that's a hell of a car for under 30 grand. You get all of that, all of those features, and a really good amount of performance. And plus you get Honda reliability. It's a car that you can keep for a very, very long time and not have any issues with, and it's still a fun car to drive. So yeah, I think this car is kind of a no-brainer when it comes to someone that wants a performance car, but a new performance car on a budget, and you get a hell of a lot of equipment with it. So that's going to wrap this up. So thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the Autos and Airwaves podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Autos and Airways. Also, my other two Instagram accounts at Cincy Rovers. And also, you can follow my personal account at Alex J. Shellman if you'd like to. We have more guest episodes coming. I am recording one hopefully this weekend with a very good friend of mine. I also have some more people down the road that are going to share some really cool stories. But yeah, the last two episodes or the last two guest episodes went great. My first one with my buddy Andrew did very well. And my friend Tish, who was very kind enough to join us all the way from England, that one has that actually went up only yesterday, but it's actually been doing quite well. So yeah, I'm glad that this podcast has kind of taken off a lot better than I was ever expecting. And hopefully it only keeps growing from here. So like I said, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Cheers.